All right, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Inslinger.
Here.
Urza.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Osterloo.
Here.
Penny.
Here.
Schmitz.
Here.
Sonny.
Here.
Dosher.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We've had we've had a proposed agenda presented to us. Does anyone have a declaration of conflict of interest that you see on that proposed agenda?
I'll be abstaining from 11, 12, and 13.
Anything else? Let's move on to the agenda. The agenda has been provided. Any additions or corrections to it?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, roll call. Your turn.
Inslinger.
Yes.
Urza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Schmitz.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes. Minutes of the meeting of August 22nd have also been included in the packet. Any additions or corrections to those?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Excuse me, not the agenda. Previous minutes have been approved as it presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote.
Urza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Schmitz.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Inslinger.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Carried.
Next meeting is scheduled to be the 26th of September. Any comments on that? If not, I need a motion to approve the blanket.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded that the blanket be approved for the 26th of September. Discussion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, your turn.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Schmitz.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Inslinger.
Yes.
Urza.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item, a plat of lots 1, 2, and 3 of McLeod's Addition in the north half of the northwest quarter of Section 14, Township 102 North, Range 60 West of the 5th parallel meridian, Davidson County, South Dakota, as requested by Daniel and Shauna McLeod. The plat was presented here. Mark, you got anything to tell us about the plat?
This is outside the ETJ, but within the 3 mile, so city has to approve it, but it's the Davis County zoning's jurisdiction. The applicant is doing some estate planning and replating of their land. It was approved by County Planning Commission on September 6th, and will go in front of County Commission on September 21st.
Anybody here got any comments on that proposed plat? Hearing none, we are ready for a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded that the plat be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, your turn.
Penny.
Yes.
Schmitz.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Genslinger.
Yes.
Urza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item, a plat of Tract 1 of Devon's Addition on the northwest quarter of Section 19, T104 North, Range 60 West of the 5th parallel meridian, Davidson County, South Dakota, except Lot H1 thereof, as requested by Glenn and Devon Sommer. Presented in the packet.
Again, this is outside the ETJ, but within the 3 miles, so the city has approval, but county's zoning jurisdiction. The applicant's land is currently described by measurements, so they are not able to acquire a building permit. They are coming in compliance with the Davidson County zoning ordinance by platting it. It was approved by County Planning Commission on September 6th and go in front of County Commission on September 21st.
Do I hear a motion? Do I hear any comment? Hearing none, we're ready for motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the plat be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, your turn.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Sonny,
Yes.
Genslinger,
Yes.
Gurza,
Yes.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item, a plat of Lot 9, Block 5 of the Woods First Edition, a subdivision of the east half of the southwest quarter of Section 23, T103 North, Range 60 West of the 5th parallel meridian, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, as requested by CJM Consulting. Must have sold another lot off the master plan.
Yep, this follows their master plan for the area. I believe the neighbor to the west is going to be purchasing the property.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded that the plat be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, it's your turn again.
Sonny,
Yes.
Genslinger,
Yes.
Gurza,
Yes.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item on the agenda, approval of master plan of Sharpstone Use LLC. Seems to me like we took a look at this probably at the last meeting, or one of the very, not too long ago.
That's correct. You looked at the PUD for this area. You recommended approval of it. It went through first reading at council. It'll go through, second reading will be heard this coming Monday for it. But we felt that we can run the master plan through at the same time as they're doing that, not to prolong it any further. So you saw this one before, what their plan is out here, 13 lots, one-way street coming off Ullman, going to the north, exiting on Sharpstone. It'll be a one-way street, curb sidewalk, right adjacent to the road. It'll be an HOA for that area, so street and utilities will all be part of the HOA there. Setbacks, it's 15 foot what's proposed for front. You saw that with before, 3 on the sides, 25 on the rear. They've got a preliminary drainage plan that goes with it as well, as showing their utilities for the area. Caleb's here if you have any questions for him at all with the proposed plan.
If I remember right, one of the big issues was drainage, and we said that was to be determined, and it looks like it is in the works. City
Yep.
guys?
Yep, you can see they have the concept shown on this drawing here with the detention basins draining to an existing storm sewer line that's there. They'll be required to follow the city ordinances. They'll have to turn that in for review. There will be a developer's agreement between the developer and the city. So yeah, I have no issues with the master plan.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody on the commission got any comments about this? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk to us about this? Looks like somebody has done their homework. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the master plan here. Discussion on the motion. I like it when a plan comes together. Mark, your turn.
Genslinger,
Yes.
Gurza,
Yes.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yeah.
Sonny,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item on the agenda, approval of a master plan, Miller Lumber Company, Morningview as subdivision. This one has been around for a while too, and has been discussed several years ago. I think was the first time we took a look at this as it was working along. Looks like there's a drainage issue plan done as well.
Yes, it's been submitted. I haven't had a chance to do a final review. I've done a prelim review, and I've been in, had some conversation with the engineer.
Okay.
There will be a few things that will have to be changed probably with it. Maybe road names, not an avenue, be a place, something like that. Road will have to be approved, named by the LEPC, but concept of it, there's no issues from our side at all.
Anybody from the commission got any questions about this from any of the relevant people here? Anybody in the audience got any comments or questions? Bob, I see you hiding back there. Looking good.
I'm Bob Muller from Muller Lumber. This is just a continuation of our MLC edition. It's on the south end of town, and this is the last stretch of it.
That's what I say, we have looked at this several years ago.
Yes.
No further comments, I assume we're ready for motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the motion be approved as presented. What are we, we're looking at a plat here, huh?
No.
Master plan, excuse me. No further comments? No questions on the motion? Mark, it's your turn again.
Jerza,
Yes.
Oscarloo,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Sonny,
Abstain?
Genslinger,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, next item is a approval of a master plan for the Jensen Capital and Development LLC Stardust. Information has been provided in the packet. And Mark, can you add any other information to us, for us, I should say?
So yeah, you have approved the previous 6 plats that were out there along Urbana Drive, and now they're doing the master plan for the whole thing. It's kind of broken into 2 different areas. The east side and the west side, all the small lots that are there on the east side, or excuse me, on the west side of it, they all fit within the zoning of the PUD that's currently there. Might have to do a little work for the east side for what they're looking to do there. But they have presented their plan for it with all their lot layouts. They also have their utility layout and drainage for this area as well. No concerns from zoning.
City guys, any issues so far?
Again, we're reviewing the storm drainage layout. We'll have to review the final plans. There will be a developer's agreement with this as well.
Okay. Anybody on the commission got any questions for the folks here? How about folks out in the audience? You got any questions about what's going on there? Seeing and hearing none, we are ready for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded that the master plan for this area be approved. Discussion on the motion. Hearing no further discussion, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, it's your turn again.
Oscarloo,
Yes.
Penny,
Yep.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Sonny,
Abstain?
Genslinger,
Yes.
Jerza,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, next item on the agenda is a conditional use permit for Jacob and Jenna Sonny at 1120 Sunnyside Court. They have applied for a conditional use permit to operate a family residential daycare located at 1120 Sunnyside Court. Legally described as Lot 10 of R.W. Miller's First Edition, a subdivision of portions of blocks 7 and 8, Sunnyside addition to the city of Mitchell-Davidson County, South Dakota. Said real property is zoned R4 High Density Residential District. Anything special here?
Neighbors were notified, published in the paper. There were 2 responses in favor of it. As you know, normally with conditional uses for daycares, we have 3 stipulations. Pass fire inspection, which has been done already. Non-transferable, and if it ceases to go for 6 months, they have to reapply. The applicant is here if you have any questions for him at all.
Applicant, do you have any comments for us?
I don't have any comments.
Okay.
I guess I will say, my wife's really excited to start this daycare. She's got a bachelor's degree from SDSU for early childhood education, and she's worked with children her whole life. So.
And it's a home occupation permit that we have passed many, many times, and with parking issues and so on, it seems to work well. Anybody got any questions? If not, we are ready for a motion.
Move to approve with conditions.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the conditions that we normally apply are there. Is there further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, you are okay with the conditions, and we're ready to go. Mark, it's your turn.
Penny,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Sonny,
Abstain?
Genslinger,
Yes.
Jerza,
Yes.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item, conditional use permit, High Wings LLC, 40580 250th Street. Has applied for a conditional use permit to operate an assembly hall located at 40580 250th Street, legally described as Kelly Tract 1, a subdivision of the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter, Kelly Tracts A, 1A, and 2, a subdivision of the south half of the southeast quarter of west of 208.75 feet south of south 208.75 feet of the southeast quarter, all in section 36, T104 north, range 60 west of the 5th parallel meridian, city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. The said real property is zoned UD Urban Development District. Mark, talk to us a little bit.
This was published in the paper. Neighbors were notified. There were no responses that went into the packet. I put one in front of you today. Larry, I emailed it to you as well from one of the neighbors that had a bunch of questions with it. I haven't had time to really go through it and talk to the applicant about it. Don's here. He is representing High Wings LLC for this area. You can explain it more than I can.
Don, would you like to talk to us?
I'd rather have Brian do that. Hello, my name is Don Peterson, and I'm representing the High Wing LLC, which was the... You can't? Can you hear it? Can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay. So I'm representing High Wing LLC, the applicant to the conditional use permit. As the conditional use permit states, they are anticipating using this area as an assembly hall, or it will be used for like a wedding venue, small group gatherings, maybe a type of bed and breakfast type for hunting, events such as that.
Okay. Questions? Anybody got any questions for Mr. Peterson?
Jay, there is an area that was included, which is not, and that will be, the plan is to level that area off. It's undeveloped right now. It would be to level that off and use that for parking. For the small events, they'll just use parking in the parking lot. There's that, I would call it the large garage or the storage facility located on that. They're going to give that a facelift, and that may be used for part of the gatherings as well.
All right, has everybody had an opportunity to read the letter that was on our desk as we came in today?
How many square feet is it?
What's the question?
How many square feet do you know, Brian?
Is the house?
Yeah.
No, the area that would be used for an assembly area.
The building portion of it, Tom?
Yep.
The house, however, large.
10,000 is the house.
Yeah.
I think it means that you're gonna renovate the shed.
Oh, the shed portion of it? I don't have an exact number, I don't want to estimate it.
And I don't, I mean, that, the idea is to use the house for the gathering area. They may do stuff out in the shed, I don't know, John, that's still in the works.
It's in city limits now, correct?
Yes.
So building code may come into play in some of that thing, just so they're aware.
Well, they know that they can't do anything without coming to you first for the code stuff, so.
That's all, just.
Okay. Any questions for Don from this committee? Any questions for Don from the audience or for this committee?
Yes, I have several questions.
Come on to the podium.
How much time do we,
Talk to us.
how much time do we have
Well,
per person? My name's Jeff Harris.
okay.
One thing that was disappointing, I did not receive a letter of this going on. And I called City Hall and they said, because you live farther than 144 feet. 144 feet, there's no house that even comes close to that. When you're dealing with out in the country, it needs to be a mile, half mile, not this short distance of 144 feet. Nevertheless, they want to, there's $1 million estates out there on each side. It's residential. Now they want to make it, okay, Assembly Hall, I call it a party house. The party house, I have a lot of questions. Is it the city of Mitchell now that it's city limits? Is it the police department that comes out when the noise is too loud? Is it, are they going to come out and tell them to keep the noise down? Are they going to shoot fireworks off for a wedding venue? We don't want fireworks out there. There's animals out there. There's a lot of questions here, whoever's buying it, and I feel there's a big conflict of interest because the city of Mitchell will let no matter who do whatever they want to do because they have the house for sale. And I think that's a big conflict of interest because they want to sell it and they're going to want to do whatever they want to do and they're going to let them. And us as neighbors, we don't want all of a sudden 50 cars driving down the gravel road because you could easily have 50 cars for a wedding venue. The road's not, it's all gravel, it's heavy dust. Please take a think what you're doing here in a residential area. I've taken enough time. I know the other neighbors want to say something.
All right, thank you. Questions? I guess I'll put this to the city attorney. Because it is within the city limits, the PD would have the authority, would they not?
Yep, it would be within our police jurisdiction.
And let me mention, because it is in the city limits, we have to follow what the city ordinance says as far as notification. I'm sorry, the ordinance says X number of feet, and that's it.
I'll address the fireworks. If it's not within the allotted time that we're allowed to shoot fireworks in July or January or December, however that lies, they would need to come and have a fireworks permit approved by council for a special event.
Jay, I can address some of the noise, is that the owners are very well aware of the 11 o'clock ordinance, and so if they were going to do something that was going to be later than 11, they would have to come to the city and get permission to do that as well, just like any other group would have to do. So they're aware of that, and they're taking that into account in their plan.
Anybody else got questions or comments?
Good afternoon. Thank you for your public service. I'm Shirley Thompson. My husband David and I actually just purchased the place that is just to the east of the said property. We provided some written comments with a number of questions. Just because this is an agricultural property, we plan on having animals there. Even if they would get permission to shoot off fireworks from the city at midnight. I have small children. I have a special needs son who also has some sensitivity issues to loud noises, and so from a concerned mom, I just have a lot of concerns. There's already a lot of traffic, more traffic than I anticipated. Honestly, we've lived in this neighborhood for about a month, and so there's more traffic on that road than we were anticipating, and dust is already an issue. So I just have a list of questions, and I apologize, I don't know the format. You know, we submitted the public comment, and I'm not sure if we are given some sort of response in regards to all the questions that we had. And maybe the question would be for Mr. Peterson, in regards to how many days per year they plan on using this facility. I mean, is this a once-a-month type thing? You know, I think we could probably come, you know, I sit on another economic development board in a different community. We love the town of Mitchell. We moved here. We're raising our children here. My husband has a business here in town. So we want to see Mitchell grow. However, we've got a lot of questions that I think needs to be answered from a safety and security standpoint. Since we do share a fence line, what's to keep drunk people from wandering onto my property in the middle of the night? It just really scares me as a mom. And so I'm hoping that the commission will take that into consideration, that there does need to be some serious things put in place. But I'll give Don a chance to answer it. If you have an idea from a use standpoint, how many numbers of days per year or anything like that.
I would assume that they would want to use it as much as possible because they're buying it for an investment. But it's going to be a wedding venue, so if there's people are booking weddings, and typically those would be on a weekend, but it'll be open for that. It would be open for if a group of hunters wanted to rent the facility for hunting. They're not a lodge. They're not offering hunting. But if someone wanted to rent it out for something like that, it would be available. I mean, I think their hope would be to use it as much as possible so that they would get a return on their investment.
I can provide Don your letter that you sent. So that way
Yeah, I
you can
haven't had
look
a
at
chance
that.
to see that, so.
And I can respond from the city side of it, what I can say, and then what he can also put on top of that.
Thank you. I would appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of the neighboring neighbors would also. So,
Okay,
thank you.
One of the things I think, one of your questions that I noticed right away is the alcohol use liability. Because you are in the city limits, they are subject to everything I am subject to, as you are too. So they're going to have a liquor license if they're going to serve it and sell it. So that's going to have to come through the city, and the city has a limited number of liquor licenses, I believe, do they not? They have 0 left.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the class and whether it's going to be a permanent or a special event license, but yeah, they would need to address that in some way. And I don't believe that the neighboring property would be within city limits, but the property that we're discussing here today is.
Does that answer your questions, at least partially at this point?
It does partially. My other question is, we are an agricultural property. We've had hogs and cattle, and we have horses currently. You know, are there going to be restrictions placed on us that are going to limit our ability to have livestock out there if there's a wedding venue next door and the wind picks up and flies?
You have to follow the same ordinance as for livestock that the city does, so.
No,
actually, they are in the county.
She's in the county, Jay.
Yes, sir.
She's in the county. She'd have to follow Davidson County zoning ordinance, which they are zoned agriculture.
Okay.
So we don't have anything for them.
And to add to that, because you're not in the city doesn't have the ability to place those types of restrictions on you at this point either, so.
Yeah, we've always been told that you're coming to the nuisance, basically. If you were to say your property, then we're coming to it, we know it's there, and so that's on us.
And as long as the owner is aware of that, we're supportive. So we just have questions.
Put it right there.
Yeah.
We're in the party time.
Well, we have had hogs, and so with that comes manure, and
I
the
can
wind's from the
take
right
care of the
direction,
job.
and flies, and that's good to know, though, just in case. So,
All right.
thank you.
A question, as far as the alcohol, you say they can't have a license, they have to have a city license to sell. However, are they allowed to bring their own?
They're subject to city ordinance.
Bring their own.
Yep, they're
Can you
subject
go
to
to the
city ordinance.
microphone, please, because they can't, it's broadcast online, they can't hear you.
I have a conflict of interest because my company is the selling company. However, I just wanted to clarify a question on the alcohol thing, and I've had my share of that over my life too. But what I want to know is, they said they can't have to have a city liquor license to sell it, but are the party goers allowed to bring their own alcohol to the party? Also, are they going to have live bands there? And if so, who's going to control? I live right next to this, across the road. And are they going to have live bands? And if so, are they subject to anything that keeps them from going till 2 o'clock in the morning out with outdoor bands, loud bands? That shed could be used as a dance hall, which I have no objection to whatsoever, as long as it's not going to be, crazy wild stuff or really loud. I mean, I have a German Shepherd that doesn't like that kind of stuff. So that's all. I'm not against or for here, either one. I'm objective, but I just wanted to clarify on the alcohol thing too. So
Understand, because they are in the city limits, they are subject to whatever the city ordinance says. And I'm not an expert in the city ordinance, that goes to the city attorney.
Yeah, and I could probably provide some comment there. We've kind of already addressed the noise aspect of it. The city does have generally applicable noise restrictions in place, and if they were going to be requesting to do anything outside of that, that's something that they'd have to come in and do on a case-by-case basis. As far as the alcohol goes, yeah, if they're going to be selling it, they're going to need to have some kind of a liquor license. If they're going to be, bringing their own, that's probably going to be more on a case-by-case basis of how they're actually, operating that. So I don't think I could give a blanket statement on that part.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Kiner, Denny R. I'm just a little bit worried about that intersection on 250th and 406. I've already had a vehicle drive through. It's not a private drive. My driveway is on the south side of the boundary of the road, so it's still it's public access. But I've had a car come in and knock the tree over my front yard because it's offset half a road. So that concerns me somewhat on what we could do to prevent that. And I do have sympathy. Like I say, I got a conflict of interest being on the county commission anyway, but I got a concern for my neighbors because it gets busy out there the way it is with rural traffic now, and I think we really got to take a hard look at what type of safety measures could be put in place for that. It's a serious problem. I mean, I had a tree that was a foot in diameter knocked clear over because a car drove right into my front yard. Having said that, that's all I got.
Thanks. Anything else?
Don, I have a question for you, please. Is the sale of the Kelly property contingent upon getting this assembly hall?
Yes, it is.
Approved?
Right.
Well, I'm Jean Starr, and we live just north of Jeff's. I'm concerned about the alcohol. Number one is basically what you're telling me is if they want to have alcohol purchased from them, they have to get a permit saying that but if they bring in their own, Katie barred the door, they can do whatever they want. Is that correct?
No, I don't think that's what I'm trying to say here. It's going to depend on how they're, distributing it, who's in charge of the event. I mean, there's a lot of different variables that could make it acceptable or not acceptable.
Let's just say it's a wedding, and they have an open bar. What do we do? I mean, they can drink I just don't know. Can they drink as much as they want, or it's an open bar, so.
Yeah, and I don't think, there's too many factors for me to give you one answer on that. I think the most likely scenario is they'll work with somebody to get a special event license so that they can do the sale of alcohol there and generate funds from it.
I'm not talking about selling it. I'm talking about an open bar where the wedding people or whomever supply the alcohol at no charge to their guests.
And that would be more an operational concern for the venue owners. I mean, they could prohibit that. That's something that they could do privately.
So basically, they could do whatever they wish. Is that correct?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
So what are you saying? I don't understand.
I'm telling you that I can't give you a blanket statement that's going to, address every single scenario that could happen. It might be there are certain situations where they could do some kind of an open bar, but I think it's going to be very difficult for them to not get in legal trouble doing that. So the most likely thing for them is to find a way to sell it.
Well,
And Don can probably tell you more about their plans.
I don't know, but I just think that, we've been to all of us have been to plenty of weddings where they have an open bar and they do whatever they want to do. That's my concern, number one. Number two is we've had people come in our driveway, and we live at the dead end. Our driveway is a dead end, and they come through our yard all the way to the end, turn around and spin out and go back out. And so I'm concerned about the traffic also out there, especially late at night where anything can happen. So I'm concerned about safety issues, number one. Our neighbor is just going to have some little children there, and I'm really concerned about that also. So that's my concern.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Well, just to try to answer some of that, I mean, I can state there are wedding venues, wedding barns all over the state of South Dakota, and most of them are out in the country. So you're not inventing a new deal here. The owner obviously will have to have insurance, property insurance, liability insurance. Their insurance companies certainly will, as Justin was saying, are going to have some requirements about alcohol and how it's served and those type of things. And so hopefully most of the neighbors' concerns can be alleviated with them. But I haven't had a chance to look at all the questions yet, if I can get. And then I can share that with the owner as well, too, or the potential owner.
Thank you. Anything?
I just have one comment on that. I know there's a lot of wedding places around the country, but not many of them are in a residential area like we are out there.
Thank you.
We don't talk at home. Hi, my name is Tom Starr. I just have a couple of short questions. Number one, is there a limit as to capacity?
That would be addressed in the building. They might have, I don't know, on the event that people outside, but in the building, there would be an occupancy load figured, if that's what they come with.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. The other thing is, what type of code are they going to have to meet in order to have 100 people in that house, residential house? What kind of revamping are they going to have to do to make that applicable to a venue where you might have 100 people and what do you got, 2 or 3 bathrooms, maybe 4 or 5, I don't know, but they're not commercial bathrooms, I'm sure of that. So I have a concern that, mine is the same as everybody else's, and that's how many people are going to be there, driving up and down the road and so forth. But I don't think that was ever intended to be a public building, and that's kind of where we're headed here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lauren Van Overshield. I'm the immediate landowner to the west of the Kelly property. Harvey and I were the first two people to build houses over in that area. And the point was made a little earlier, those houses were there before a wedding venue was there. The houses didn't move in on the wedding venue or the hunter's venue or the other half a dozen ideas that I've heard here so far. And then another question I have, I kind of like where I live. It's quiet out there, and I like it to stay that way if I possibly could have that happen. And you have a jurisdiction from the city on part of the property, and what happens when they get on the county road? Is that the county's property, their county's responsibility then? Where does one start and the other one end?
20-minute response time for county.
20-minute response time for the county. How about the city to come out there?
City wouldn't have any jurisdiction on the county unless they cross.
How do they get to that property unless they cross the county lines, cross the county roads?
That's right.
Take the creek? I don't know. I mean, these are questions that we need answers to before we jump off the deep end here. And, you know, Harvey over the years would maintain the dust control on those roads at his own expense. Well, take a drive down there right now with just a couple of cars. You throw 40, 50 cars on there, use your imagination what that would look like.
2 cars.
2 cars. I don't go that way. I quit early.
I go your way.
I guess that's my concern. You know, it goes back to that same argument. We didn't move in on the wedding venue or the hunter's venue, or it's the other way around. So I think that should weigh into this decision a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay, just as a matter of jurisdiction, I mean, obviously, the police, fire, EMS, they can all use the county roads to get out there. I think the only point that there would be any potential issue is probably coming down to maintenance of the road. And obviously, the city doesn't have any authority over the parts that it doesn't have an interest in.
Sorry to be up here twice.
That's all right.
As far as mag chloride in that road, that request come to the county at least 3 or 4 times from Harv. And the county just doesn't have that type of money to put that mag chloride on that road. And we wouldn't do that because then we'd have to mag chloride every road in the county. I mean, that'd be real favoritism there. It cost, a year ago, it cost approximately $7,500 a mile to mag chloride that road. And I'm telling you, that's a nasty, dirty gravel road. So if anybody's expecting the county to mag chloride that, just coming from 1 out of 5, that ain't gonna happen.
Thank you. Yes.
Shirley Thompson. I just needed a point of clarification, just because I'm not familiar. So the noise ordinance in the city is by 11 p.m. things have to be shut down. Is that based on a decibel or just my preference as a neighbor? A clarification.
There are decibel standards listed out, and I'm sure we could provide you a link or a copy of the noise ordinance if you're interested.
And you said it was 11 p.m.?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
I don't recall off the top of my head, but I think that sounds right.
Well, I mean, I have a 16, 8, 6, and 4-year-old, so, I mean, my kids need 10 to 12 hours of sleep, so I just wanted to clarify that it was 11 p.m., because that's awfully late for them, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Guys, we're at the point where we need to make some decisions.
Mark, can you remind our guests what process or what action or inaction that we take today, what's the result of that?
So this board makes a recommendation for or against to Board of Adjustment, which City Council sits as Board of Adjustment, and they make the final decision, and that'll be heard next Monday night at 6 p.m. in this same room.
And our standard protocol here, what we usually do is make a motion to approve and then pass it or deny it.
Correct.
So that's what I'm looking for, is a motion to approve.
I think Larry had something online that he wanted to say.
Larry?
Yeah, this is Larry Jerka. I have just a couple of comments here. I think there's a couple of issues involved. One of the gentlemen said earlier, the existing building is being changed in terms of use and classification of occupancy by the building code, where if it was a residential, now it appears to me it's going to be used as an assembly building. And being an assembly building, there's a whole lot of new code issues and requirements that would have to be met before the building could be actually utilized as an assembly building. Now, in terms of modifying the zoning to allow that assembly building to occur, that's the issue at hand. But in terms of the reality of making it usable as an assembly building, that's a whole nother issue that would have to come down the road in the future of plans and modifications being submitted for approval, where the building would structurally, mechanically, electrically, plumbing, parking, whatever issues are related to assembly buildings for a certain occupancy. That, to me, is what maybe the real issue is. And if the current owners have to do that, and it's an extremely expensive endeavor to do that, maybe the thing is not going to be able to be turned into an assembly building. I don't know. That's something that they'd have to determine. But I think that would need to be done before technically the building could be utilized as an assembly building, as an assembly hall. That's my thoughts on it. I don't have a problem of changing the zoning, but I would have a problem of using an assembly building or using an assembly occupancy out of a residential building. Those two aren't very compatible. And I think there's a lot of stuff that would have to be done technically to comply with all the codes. Because now we're changing the use of the building, so it doesn't really classify so much as the existing building. It's got to be redone to meet the current code. And I think that's going to be, technically, I think that's going to be an overwhelming thing for the owners to do. But I don't know the building that well, but just common sense to me says change a residential building to an assembly building is a major deal, because it affects everything about the building practically, and everything about the parking and the site, and the handicap accessibility, and all the other stuff that the mechanical, plumbing, and all the other code issues that come involved, and life safety issues. The building may need to be sprinkled based on square footage. I don't know. I mean, there's just a ton of things that are involved, and I think that is being overlooked. But as far as I'm concerned, to change the zoning of it, I don't have a problem with that, because we're always going to have county properties abutting to city properties around the perimeter of the whole city. That's always good. So anyway, I just wanted to state that, and that's basically my position. I don't have a problem with changing the zoning, but I have a problem of just arbitrarily letting them go ahead and start using the building after the zoning would be approved for an assembly building. So that's basically what I have here.
Jay, if I can respond to that, the owners are aware. This step is just, step one is to see if you would approve the rezoning of it.
This is a rezone.
Or, excuse me, the condition, yeah, the conditional use permit. Yeah, that's right. We're here to find out if you're interested in allowing the conditional use. That's just step one. Step two then is if we understand that if it's going to be used for an assembly hall or a wedding venue, that it has to meet all the city code requirements, and John was bringing that up. So that's step two. The only thing today would be is whether or not you'd approve a conditional use. That doesn't mean that you're going to approve it as a assembly hall or a wedding venue or anything else for that matter until the owner goes through and does what he has to do, or at least find out what he has to do and find out the cost of it.
Larry, we appreciate your comments. That's why we like to have an architect on the commission, because there are things like that we don't know. So thanks for your comments.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And I would just like to talk about the public works side of it. If this is approved, and we know that they are going to operate an assembly hall, then that triggers our building inspector then would review to make sure that they are following the requirements. Even existing buildings that we don't know are bought within town, sometimes they change uses, and then when John finds that out, John will do an inspection, and if he needs to stop them from doing what they're doing, he will do that until they make the modifications they need to. I don't want to speak for fire, but I would also assume that the fire marshal would need to come in and do his inspections to make sure that they are following what needs to be done as far as fire goes. So yes, like Don mentioned, if this is approved, then the city will take the steps moving forward to proceed. In all likelihood, they could have this conditional use approved and not use it for an assembly hall at all, which would not require any city review. So just comments from Public Works.
Thank you.
Question.
Go ahead.
At what point was that annexed into the city?
Before you were on the commission.
It was annexed in about 18 months ago, probably 2 years. It was rezoned within the last year because when it got annexed into the city, it was still as agriculture, and the city doesn't have ag as a zoning. So we zoned it to urban development because that's what is abutting over on the east side of 406.
Does this conditional use permit allow for an assembly of folks in either the house or the shed? Are we considering just one of the two buildings or anywhere on the property?
We are considering anywhere on the property. There are 4 parcels out there. That's why it took Jay so long to read the legal definition of it. It's because there's 4 separate parcels. So this assembly hall is for all of their property, inside, outside, or the lot.
And keep in mind, sorry, Jay, keep in mind that it's kind of a separate issue between allowing it on the property versus the building permit or the fire code potential issues, so.
And my thinking is if this is approved as a conditional use, and they decide, they take a look at all of this other stuff that needs to happen at the venue, at this stuff, they may decide, ain't gonna work unless we build a separate hall. But there again, financial considerations have to happen. At least that's my opinion. So I think we're ready to.
Excuse me. I make a couple comments.
Identify yourself.
Lauren Van Overshield. I'm kind of confused here just a little bit in that if you grant or recommend a conditional use permit, we don't really know what the end use is going to be yet, right?
We don't know what the end use is going to be for the existing property.
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of financial considerations, the way I see it.
But the conditional use permit would carry forth whatever they decide to do.
That's correct.
But yet we don't know what they're going to do.
That's correct.
We think interesting.
We think that they're telling us that they want to.
Yeah, but there's nothing mandating that this is what's going to happen, because there's a lot of horses behind the carriage yet here, so to speak.
So
one other comment. What about septic system and city water or sewage disposal, et cetera?
Good question.
I'll just comment first on what would be allowed. I mean, the definition of assembly hall is set out in our ordinance, so if you're approving the conditional use permit, whatever it is they end up doing is going to have to meet that definition for what an assembly hall is. I think, just about everything that they've mentioned here today would probably meet that definition.
The second question, as far as the water or the sewer, there are no city utilities out there. I believe they are on Davis and Rural Water. And as far as their sewage goes, they would be required to
Meet the state guidelines.
Right. Yep. And that would be under John's review as part of
Just
the.
a quick comment as far as Davis and Rural Water is concerned. They have currently a 3/4 inch meter, and that's all they would get. There's no capacity there at this time for anything over that 1 inch or better that would have to service more than what a normal household would service.
So when you say the whole property is considered the assembly area, so that means that little storage shed will have to be considered all codes, no matter what.
Well, separate building code from the property, because we're just talking about conditional use.
Right.
The building code
Yeah.
stands alone per building, no matter what you put in it. We're just talking about the property.
And the reason I didn't expand much further on that is because I don't know what the square footage is, or have I seen a preliminary plan for any structure. Larry kind of went on and furthered what I was going to say is, the larger building would probably be feasible to transfer into a assembly area because it's standalone, and has open yards and facilitates some of the code. The house itself would be much more difficult, I would think, but that might be an attribute to the property and say, hey, this house is available for the wedding party to stay in, and that would fall still under residence, I would think, but that's still something you'd have to give a full review of if and when it was to come.
Correct. At this point, we're looking at the property as a whole. We don't know if they plan on building another structure, to account for that themselves. So, yeah, Mr. Gingslinger is right. We're looking at this as the property, not getting into building codes and those things.
But also, the neighbors are also looking at if it's the whole property, if you allow one building to be assembly area and have the codes all taken, what about the other building?
They'd be taken separate. Separate buildings, separate
I
square
just
footage.
wanted to make sure that a lot of people.
That's where the separation distance would all come into play, that there'd be a whole bunch of parameters.
Right, but building code is not the issue.
No,
No.
not at this point.
You are
It
approving,
can be later.
you are approving the concept of
We're
having
approving
assembly
the
hall
concept.
out there.
I wanted to bring it up.
After that is done, then it would go through the review process of, can each of these buildings support that, what would have to be done? John can stop them from having anybody in there before they even get started, and say, this is your maximum load, but that's a code review, code issue, that you would review that.
And I wanted to bring it up, because numerous times, people buy property and they think they get to come in with this use and run with it, and then they come to my office and you tell them no, there's a tantrum or other repercussions afterwards. But, Don assured me, hey, this party is taking that into consideration, they know it's in the hopper.
All right. I think we're ready for a motion, folks, unless you have some more questions. Hearing no further questions, I'm looking for a motion.
This is yours. I make a motion to approve the conditional use.
Larry's made a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'm going to second it so we can get to a vote.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. This is not the first time we've had to do that either, is it?
That's right.
All right.
So discussion on the motion. Again, the issue isn't building code. You can change the assembly or to assembly, and you can make that work to the code very easily, would you say?
More so than the house, yeah, and it's depending on the size.
I mean, we're talking about the entire property, not the house.
I'm talking about just a big shed, that's all I really would think would be possible.
So this confusion about the code being a hurdle for them to get what they want in the end run? Right.
If it's small enough, it would be facilitated. If it gets bigger, it could be
a stumbling block.
A lot tougher.
Again, we don't know the specifics,
Right.
Are the doors 3 foot? Is there a sprinkler in the building? Is there a 2-hour firewall? Do we need them? There's a lot of parameters that we just aren't ready to talk about.
Right.
It very well could be a huge barrier to an assembly.
My only point is that we're voting on whether to change the conditional use.
Do we like the concept of putting a wedding hall on this property? That's the other.
There you go. Thank you.
Because this has got to be the step to continue on.
Right.
Okay. Mark, it's your turn to go roll call.
Genslinger.
No.
Jerza.
Larry, did you hear?
All right, Jerza.
Lose Larry?
We lost him. He timed out on the phone.
Did he really?
He's there? No, I think he timed out on the phone.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Schmitz,
No.
Sonny,
No.
Just one second, I'll put you on speaker.
there was a motion to approve, so yes or no, Larry?
Yes.
Larson,
I'm going to vote yes, too.
4-3, motion carried. It's a recommendation to approve the City Council Board of Adjustment, which we'll hear it next Monday night in the same room at 6 p.m.
Okay, Council, it's in your lap. All right, next item. A conditional use permit flats on Havens LLC, 1525 West Havens Avenue, has applied for a conditional use permit to operate a multifamily dwelling located at 1525 West Havens, legally described as Block 4, Sunnyside addition to the city of Mitchell-Davidson County, South Dakota, except the east 175 feet thereof, except the north 151.45 feet of the west 167 feet thereof, except the north 50 of the west 50 feet of the south 165 of the east 155 feet of Block 4 thereof, except lots 8-4 and 8-5. The said real property is zoned Highway Business District.
Can we just point to a map and outline what
So it was, neighbors were notified, it was published in the paper, did not receive any responses for or against this. We all know this as the Ramada building. They're looking to change it over from the hotel to a 90-unit apartment building, therefore it's a multifamily dwelling. The applicant, which I've never met you before, nice to meet you, is here. If you have questions, or he can give a little better outline for what they're looking to do there.
Okay, applicant, you want to talk to us?
Sure. Hello, Nathan Stencil, Stencil Group. So we are the current property owners of the hotel, of which just is not financially feasible anymore to be running as a hotel. It's an old structure, out of use, just doesn't work well in that use. So we're trying to come up with some alternates that are financially feasible to rehabilitate the current building to a more modern use, update the electrical, sewer, water, all of that, and then breathe new life into the property by allowing it to be workforce housing.
Any questions for this gentleman?
Looks to me like you're taking the covered pool area.
Yeah, just due to the nature of the way it's set up, you have rooms on both sides. So currently you have courtyard rooms that are hotel rooms, and we need to eliminate the roof in that area so that we have, for code and fire, yep.
And you use more floors.
Yes, yep.
Questions?
Any plans to upgrade the exterior of the building?
Oh, yeah. No, we're going to be doing the whole parking lot all the way around on the backside that kind of borders up against the Sinclair. We'll be redoing the whole outside of the property, a whole new look, the roof, everything. When completed, it'll be a modern facility, so.
Basically, you're looking at using the existing bones of the building.
Yeah, so, the whole building, when they did it, it was, they went above and beyond. It's not a wood structure, it's all concrete floors, concrete roof, concrete walls. So all of that stuff is great. It's just we really need to get all of the mostly mechanical stuff, and all the finishes redone on the inside, so.
Questions? It's going to be a lot easier than the last one.
A few less people left, so.
We got one. That's that coming out on the outside of
What's that?
The glass.
Oh, yeah, no, everything.
Everything is.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that'll be left will be the, so if you kind of look at the exterior today, and you look at where the actual hotel rooms are, that's kind of a curtain wall or a glass wall that has the air conditioning unit, the door, the glass, all that'll be taken out, reframed back in, new windows, new exterior, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Further discussion? Further questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we recommend approval.
Great.
Discussion on the motion. Larry, are you still with us over there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. I hear no further discussion or questions. Mark, it's your turn again.
Jurza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Schmitz.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Genslinger.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried for that, for conditional use.
Next item on the agenda, plan approval, Flats on Havens LLC at 1525 West Haven. We have plan, we've approved the conditional use, we've seen some of the rough outlines of the plan. Do we need further discussion on this, baby? Obviously not.
It's not in the packet. I don't have it. Does anybody else?
Why don't you?
I went straight from the stencil group to the TIF.
You were probably looking at the plans before that, when you were talking about the conditional use.
Yeah.
They kind of merge right
They
together.
merged together.
I'll make a motion to approve the plan approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the plans be approved as presented. And of course, they're going to be subject to change when they get to the building permit and all the other things that we talked about earlier. I hear no more further discussion. We have a motion and a second to approve the plan. Mark, it's your turn again.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Schmitz.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Genslinger.
Yes.
Jurza.
Yes.
Larson.
Yep.
Motion carried for that.
All right, next item. Hearing and action on establishing the boundaries and approval of the project plan for a tax increment financing district number 28. And,
I'll let Nathan.
okay, I was looking for Don to jump up and say something.
Don's not doing this today.
Oh, he's not, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so we're proposing to use a TIF, I guess, or create a TIF district. And what we're going to be doing is we have a significant gap in the feasibility of the project due to just the amount of work that needs to be done to create the housing. We're actually pursuing a housing TIF district here that would be restricted to rents that are below 80% of area median income for all of the units within the property, which would be like a workforce housing rent level for the community. Same project you just heard about, 90 units. So yeah, that's the gist of it, I guess. I think another key component is that during the life of the TIF, it would be $1,495,000 roughly in TIF proceeds. And without it, the project is far from financially feasible. And unfortunately, even with costs today, it's a bit of a stretch if we do get the TIF to be able to finance a project like this.
Mr. Chairperson, I will just state that the city does have an internal TIF review committee. We reviewed that. We had made some recommended changes to the stencil group, which they incorporated into the plan as is. Unless Justin saw any changes, it would be as the TIF committee recommended coming to planning and zoning.
So we're setting the boundaries, basically, and approving the concept. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. So this would function similarly to the past TIFs that we've approved. It's a pass-through the city will pass on the increment as it's generated. He's kind of gone into the numbers. It's important to point out that this is the affordable housing type TIF, so they've got some numbers that they need to meet as far as the rental guidelines and everything like that. But going through the review process, I think we've worked through all that. As Stephanie said, we've made numerous recommendations as to changes they might make to the project plan, and it appears to meet all of the local and statutory requirements. So I don't think there's any concern from the city at this point.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe we have done a housing TIF before. Is that correct, Stephanie?
No, we have. We just approved one for Groenweg construction.
Oh, okay.
That was,
Yep.
and basically what that does by meeting those affordable housing as is defined by the state statute is it allows us to classify that TIF as economic development. And then the taxes are spread across the state versus a local TIF. And as Justin said, we have only been doing the pass-through grants now, so there is no constitutional debt assigned to the city, so that is a requirement of the city council in order to support approval of those TIFs.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. We just. Yep. But other than that, this is kind of new.
It's, yeah, a relatively new concept, and I think we'll probably be seeing more in the somewhat near future, too.
Okay.
If you are wishing to move forward, it'll be two different motions. First motion will be to set the boundaries and vote on that. Second one would be to approve the project plan and recommend approval of the TIF district number 28.
Questions, fellas?
Should have set the boundaries.
Second. Moved and seconded that the boundaries be set as presented. Discussion on that motion. Hearing none. Mark, your turn again.
Henny.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Genslinger.
Yes.
Jerza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried to set the boundaries.
All right, next motion that we need is to accept the, how do we want to word that?
Approve the project plan and recommend approval of TIF number 28.
Okay. All right, approve the project plan and recommend approval to the council, number 28.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded that we do that. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none. Mark, it's up to you again.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Sonny.
Yes.
Genslinger.
Yes.
Jerza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Henny.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good luck next Monday night.
Yep. Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before this body at this time?
Yes, actually, if you remember, we still have some more stuff.
He's got some more.
Just come up from there. I had more stuff. It's just discussion. So if you guys remember, Simply Stored, which is the Palace Mall, they have a conditional use there for inside storage, self-storage facility. And at the time, it was moved, approved with a recommendation, no outside storage would be allowed there without planning commission's approval. I think during the concept of all of it, the words were wrong. It was supposed to be probably outside commercial storage is what they were requesting, not outside storage. Outside storage is going to be your TSC, your Menards, that they have their product sitting outside that they own. He wants to do commercial where he can rent space out and somebody else owns the stuff there. Talking with Justin earlier today, since we have both definitions and outside commercial storage is not a permitted or a conditional use, they'd have to go the route of would you guys approve moving forward with an ordinance change to put outside commercial storage as a conditional use permit, and then they can apply for outdoor commercial storage and go that route with it for you to see again. Their reasonings for it is, number one, they've got a lot of people that are asking them for storage for outside for their campers and things like that. They're completely full inside. Number two, they want to fence it around the backside of it to get rid of loiterers, a lot of trash that blows in there, and just a safety concern that they have.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. I'm remembering back, and when we were talking about that, we were talking about stuff like Menards, where they own the property. I think we are in order to have an ordinance that defines. What do the rest of you guys think?
I remember having a discussion when this was all being talked about, that, no, we weren't going to be storing equipment outside, we weren't going to have UTVs and RTVs, all these vans sitting out front of the hotel now, that's what it said, out front of the I'd be opposed to it.
Well, I like the idea that it's all full, but again, once you start putting them outside, you're gonna start making it either look bad or, and I guess that's where you get some more buildings built, store them inside or something like that, or whatever, so.
And I think the important thing to consider right now is, take their specific idea out of the picture for the moment. What the question is right now is there, well, would it be acceptable to add as a conditional use the outside commercial storage? And then that would open up the channel for them to come in about their specific operation. So.
And by commercial storage, you're meaning you're going to store something that doesn't belong to you on your property. And they would have to get a conditional use for that. It's different than Menards outside storage where they store stuff that they own on their property.
And I don't know if Mark has the definition handy, but outside commercial storage does have a specific definition in our code.
Yeah.
and it probably should have been brought up when this was all going on, and maybe didn't realize there was outside commercial and just outside storage, two different things.
I think that's where we went astray. I think you're right.
So they're asking us to change our ordinance or their use.
To add a conditional use.
So they can store anything outside where they want, what they allow.
For one private owner?
But if you take the situation out of this, you're adding the possibility of outside storage to the ordinance. Now, that would mean that an entity like this could bring it to you from a permitted use asking permission. Anyone else in that designated zoning could ask permission for this, and it's up to you whether to approve it or disapprove it. That's the way I would look at it.
That's my next question, is who else is going to be affected by this charge, potentially? Anybody else in town?
I mean,
highway business.
Yeah, this would be, it would be adding it to the highway business as a conditional use. So anybody in the highway business district would potentially have the opportunity to ask for that. Now, it'd be a conditional use, so they'd have to still come in and they'd have to be granted that.
Brendan's, for example, where they have a ton of storage buildings, they've got another ton of room someplace.
Rocky Brennan.
The trailer court out here west of town, east of town. He's got all this storage buildings on the north side of the highway, south side of the highway. And he's got room so that he could have some other people's campers there. Right now, he's not allowed to even come in and ask for conditional use.
That's a dilemma, that's a good place for that, but I don't think we're paying for place for that. That's the dilemma.
Yeah. But do we want it as a conditional use so that we can make a recommendation to the council? That's the question.
Well, this is just discussion.
Yeah, this is purely discussion, but if you guys are going to vote unanimously no that we're not going to allow this as a conditional use, I'm not going to put forth the effort to publish
It's our recommendation, city council has to say so anyhow, so you gotta give them a chance.
Yeah, they kind of did what they wanted to.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, if it's not wasting your time, it gives them the
Right.
I mean, we can split
What is it, 3 and 4, whatever what it is, we're so close, just like the last one, you know? So
We don't want to do this. Next thing you know, we'll have all kinds of crap sitting out in highway business, it'll be a mess.
Well, you might have old cars sitting out there, you know.
But we can enforce that with nuisance right now.
Well, but now if they have wheels on their license and all that, I mean, you can
They have
have
to be
jumpers.
currently
You can have-
licensed and runnable, so.
That's exactly my concern, now we're talking. But,
And I
right now,
kind of agree, so
propane is all in-
let me squelch this right now, I'm not in favor of it, so don't even go there.
So now we're 4 and 4.
No, I trump you.
John, you need a job?
All right.
I got a job. No, I don't need a job.
All right. I think we've had that discussion and settled, and Mark, don't bother. I think it's